Hey guys, how's it going? Today I just wanted to discuss what to look for when you're buying an AR. And one of the things that I found out the hard way, which was pull out your bolt carrier and look at it. I'm not going to show how to take out the bolt carrier because it's pretty easy, so I'm going to go ahead and skip that. But what I found is whenever I was pulling the charging handle back, it was kind of hard after dry firing it to test it. You know, I was testing it before I use it after building it for the first time, and I was like, hey, you know, that doesn't seem like it's working right. So I'm like, you know, pull the bolt carrier out, and I noticed that the firing pin was kind of getting stuck in there, you know, because you should just be able to hear that, like it's loose in there. You know, your firing pin should be loose, and if you can see it in there, there it is right there, that silver thing in there. You should just be able to, like, you know, see it moving freely when you move your bolt in and out of the bolt carrier like that. You should see it popping in and out. So anyway, that's a good first test. But if you, the real test though, and this is actually the firing pin itself out of another one. The real test is to take it all apart and just look at it if you think something's not working right. So this pin right here, push that pin in right there. That's the firing pin retainer pin. Firing pin retainer pin. Yeah. I know I said pin twice, but there are two pins. Pull that out, and then your firing pin should just fall right out. Doesn't fall right out, it's okay, you might have to pull it out. But this is a brand new firing pin, never been used, and it's a good firing pin because of the fact that it can loosely fall in and out of the bolt, which is what it should do. So this one here, this other one that I had, this one is actually bent. I didn't know it was bent because, I mean, you know, you get a brand new part and hey, why is it going to be bent? It's kind of ridiculous, you know. Why in the hell would it be bent? I don't know. But if I didn't examine it, I would have gone to the range and fired it and possibly done damage to my the rest of my gun. So I mean, I'm glad that I found that out after pulling the bolt carrier out and fiddling with it and figuring out, hey, you know, because like whenever it was in there, and I'll go ahead and put it back in there even though it's bent, is that it wasn't going in right. You can see it's getting stuck. It's like getting stuck in there. Can't even go all the way up in there. It's all jacked up. It's more bent than it was early. It was before. I actually bent it more because I was using it. I use it now as a tool to take other guns apart, so at least it found some kind of purpose for a $12 firing pin. But anyway, another good test though is to just, like, you know, what the real test for me though was, I'm kind of going through this haphazardly, I'm sorry, is to pull the cam pin out. That's called the cam pin. It holds the cam in there. It holds the bolt actually in the carrier, because in the bolt carrier group, this is the bolt carrier and this is the bolt. This is actually not a bolt at all, it's just a carrier. This is the actual bolt. So one thing you can do is just assemble it in your hand without the bolt, right? I mean, without the carrier, just with the bolt. So, you know, as you can see, like, I'm putting the firing pin in and it's not even going in all the way. That's pretty jacked up. That's not the way it should be at all. This other one, look, goes in and out no problem. Very little friction, and it should just fall out. If you can't put your pin in there and just dump it out, then there's a serious problem. And not only that, but another good thing to check is just to make sure that the actual firing pin is making it all the way to protrude through the bolt, so that way you can make sure it's contacting the center of the round whenever it's actually trying to fire, when the hammer is being engaged on the firing pin. That's something else to check, but in other words, though, that's a pretty good, I think that's a pretty damn good test. Not only that, just, you know, if you want to go ahead and assemble the whole thing, pull it out, put your cam pin in. Another thing about the cam pin that's cool is for right-handed bolts, you can't put the cam pin in backwards. It's impossible. Okay? Can't even do it, which I think that's good. That's make sure that you don't assemble your gun incorrectly. Another awesome reason ARs are far superior to other platforms. But so then you just put the firing pin in, because the firing pin actually goes through the cam pin. So you have your cam pin like that. See the cam pin. So whenever you put the cam pin inside of the bolt, like so, insert the firing pin, and it should just go right through. And then that's the way it's assembled when it's inside of the bolt carrier. And then this pin, the firing pin retainer pin, it goes just like that. So that way it can't fall out. So when it's inside the bolt carrier, it keeps it all together. This one tiny little pin keeps your firing pin from falling out, so it's pretty important that it be in there. So anyway, though, to reassemble it, you just go through the same steps. Very easy. I mean, as you can see, I didn't use any tools except for this other firing pin to shove this other pin out. That retaining pin for the firing pin. You just put the bolt back in, and then the gas. Whenever you put the bolt back in, the gas rings on it make you have to press it a little bit. One test I've heard to see if the gas rings are still good is to put it up like that, right? Just set it on there lightly, right? And if the bolt carrier falls over the bolt, just going like that without any pressure, then your gas rings probably need to be replaced. The gas rings are right there. You can see them. They're the silver rings that are right there. But anyway, put your bolt in, rotate it around to where your extractor is on the right hand side, so that way that's where, you know, that's where the casings are going to be popped out and fly out of the ejector port. Put your firing pin in. Make sure to put the good firing pin in, not the bad one, not the bent one. But you'll know by putting the bent one in, but not always, because it might be just slightly bent and it might just be a little hard to put in, but when you put it in, it might not just fall out like that. So that's another tip, because you really can't eyeball a firing pin necessarily and make sure that it's going to work. You really do have to just try to put it into the bolt and see if it's going to fall out. So anyway, I'm putting it in, and then the retainer pin goes in right here. You can just, I mean, sometimes the retainer pin's a little bit too loose and you might have to spread it out a little bit. Just a little bit though. Just spread it out. Put it back in there, push it in, make sure it's in there all the way. Yep, and it is. You can use your finger like that to make sure it's not going to rub on the upper receiver whenever it's in there. But and I did something wrong. Whoops. That happens. Put your cam pin in first. Yep. Rotate it around, put your cam pin in. That's the good thing about the ARs, is any mistake like that, you can really undo it pretty quickly, because we're all human, and I'm kind of a beginner anyway, so I'm allowed to make mistakes. Okay, now our cam pin's in. The cam pin is kind of a weird thing, because once you get it put in right, then you rotate it long ways like that, to where and then when you put the firing pin back in, you have to pull it out like so, so that way it's perfectly even like that, because that's going to align the hole for the firing pin to go through. And if you don't do that, the firing pin won't go through. Okay, now I can't tell which one is the bent one and which one is the not bent one. So let's just do that test. Hey, let's figure out which one is the bent one. Whatever. And that one's the not bent one because it's falling in and out. No problem. And that's it. And then my retainer pin. What did I do with it? Up there it is. Okay, well, that's the complete reassembly and disassembly of the entire bolt carrier group, and it looks like it's going to work fine. Firing pin is shaking in there freely still. This bolt carrier, I can already tell it's going to work fine. So that concludes this video. I hope everybody enjoyed it and got something out of it. Talk to you later.